This is the number one issue that my clients come to me with. But once you figure out how to reframe those circumstances, literally nothing will faze you during your manifestation. Hey guys, welcome to another video, and hi to any new viewers. We are talking about the 3D circumstances that you might be dealing with, why they might seem like the be-all, end-all, super stressful, and you're just not seeing what you want, you're frustrated, you want to change around all of that. Well, I'm going to actually help you change your mindset today and realize why they don't actually matter. So if you start watching this video and you enjoy it, please do thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, turn on that notification bell so you can be up to date with all of my updates, coaching opportunities, new content, because I pretty much post every single day. And also on screen, for anyone who's interested or curious, will be my coaching information, my LOA Coaching Darling membership. It is $8.99 a month. I did click on my link the other day and it said it was £11 or $11.99. So I don't know what's going on there with YouTube. But when I actually went through to my settings, it is set at $8.99. So yeah, that is still a very, very low price regardless. You get tons of extra bonus content, or you can work with me one-to-one with my coaching offers, which will be linked below. So take a look if that interests you. But now let's jump into today's video. You are paying too much attention to your 3D reality. It's not relevant, it's not necessary to overanalyze or spiral. And I know sometimes, of course, it comes up naturally. It's not something that you can necessarily control, especially an emotional reaction, but you're putting too much attention, too much analysis and worry and time, wasting your time on the 3D circumstances. You don't need to analyze it or worry about what's going on. Just try to get out of that state. Again, those automated reactions, they're automated for a reason. They do just come up. It is usually a pattern that's been built up over time. So I do get it that it might feel right now that it's emotionally heavy, mentally heavy, and you can't just, click your fingers and turn off your reactions to it. But you want to try and be self-aware and say, okay, this thing happened, or I was reminded of this, I had a dream about this, whatever it is. Let me distract myself, shift my mindset around, shift my thoughts around. I do not need to pay this much attention to the 3D. And if you hold on to your past experiences, any negative memories, negative assumptions, or conversations that you've had, regardless of what you're manifesting, it's going to hold you back. If you hold on to the past circumstances, they will hold you back. So you want to make sure you're not doing that, because it's not the circumstances themselves. It's your reaction and your perspective about them. So, people can react to or view and assume that certain events mean different things just because, everyone has their own assumptions. Someone who is, on top of their mental diet and just, this could be you by tomorrow if you put your mindset into it and say, okay, I've noticed these areas that I could work on with my manifesting journey. And the people who are, on top of a mental diet or just understanding why the circumstances don't matter will not spiral or be fazed by a bad event in the 3D, versus if you're still in a state of being really reactive, still constantly reminding yourself of the old story and not putting in the conscious effort to flip your mindset around, to flip your reactions around mentally, then yeah, it's going to seem like a catastrophic event. Catastrophizing, is very easy to do when you're not in a positive mindset or, space, a positive space at the moment. And if you do that, then you're holding on to it. It's going to regurgitate itself over and over. Even if it doesn't have to manifest again, it will come up in your mind. So you want to make sure you're not holding yourself back by holding on to those past circumstances. So again, it's just your perspective. It's not objective. It's not, oh, your manifestation is delayed or there's an issue or it's super difficult just because this happened. It's entirely up to you. Your assumptions can be built entirely on illogical ideas. Like something positive doesn't have to have any logic tied to it. So your brain will accept the meaning that you assign to an event. It's not that, oh, X happened, therefore here's the meaning, right? You assign the meaning for something. So again, be delulu, decide, oh, this conversation happened, this rejection came up. Well, it just means that this person loves me even more. It just means that I'm getting everything I want immediately. That's why this happened, Be delulu and tell your mind what you want it to accept and hear, because it's not objective or logical. It's going to take in what you tell it is the truth. And yes, it does usually require a bit of repetition, but the more you get into this habit, the less the circumstances will faze you. And remember the difference with your conscious and subconscious mind in that, your conscious mind is very much thinking from rational, logical thoughts and analysis, the ego trying to protect you, analyzing danger, the unknown, trying to find answers, just being highly analytical, thinking intellectually, right? It's not going to think based on emotion so much. It's going to think based on, here are the facts I know, here are my assumptions and beliefs, whether I'm going to succeed or fail. That's how your conscious mind thinks. So it's natural and normal. It's not an objective truth about your reality. So you want to make sure that you're not getting stuck in that repetitive cycle. It might seem really important and logical, but you're going to hold yourself in this hamster wheel of reacting the same event or same issue being perpetuated, and then your reaction comes up again, and you want to cut that cycle short. So ultimately, do not let doubt be the deciding factor. There is no, again, objective truth or reality that if something negative happens, that it's going to totally set your manifestation back, that it's a huge problem that you have to resolve or analyze, this circumstance that's temporarily in the way. Manifestation is limitless. There are no objective rules or blocks for a circumstance or specific person. There's nothing to say because XYZ happened, you cannot manifest the outcome you want, or this circumstance is just the way it is. This dictates how someone thinks or how someone feels. Again, with another human, it's very complex and layered. Like, you can never truly know. Obviously, I'm not saying to question people's words or mistrust in people, but if you're just seeing something, if you're seeing a circumstance unfold or, an argument or bad conversation, that's not to say, oh, this person feels so negative, this is so bad, like, our relationship is fractured, or this is a really bad interaction. Do not take everything at face value or just assume all the negative words immediately mean a negative outcome for your reality. And in quantum terms, when you put your focus into your desired reality, that, and your actual focus, not just saying this is what I want or I'm going to think about it once, but your actual focus on the tunnel vision of that being your end result, your desired outcome, that reality collapses into form. That is literally how scientifically and in terms of parallel realities, the quantum realm, quantum magnetic field, that's what is happening. When you put your focus, your entire being is focused on that emotionally, mentally, all of this. You're internally living that desired reality, even if it's not real yet. The circumstances don't reflect it yet. That reality is being brought closer and closer. It is collapsing into form because that is where your focus is going. You have to observe something for it to then become real, for it to become physically a reality. So even as you're doing that, you might be putting that practice in every single day. It usually isn't a case of it just suddenly showing up, right? That was me clicking my fingers. Because remember that movement isn't always visible. So the current circumstances you're seeing, again, do not dictate everything. It's not even just that you should, apply a positive assumption or ignore the bad circumstances, but also remember that even if they are being reflected, it is okay. The movement that is happening can be behind the scenes. Again, it starts internally. I always highlight this in my content. It's not always visible. Movement doesn't have to be this in your face, direct, literal, obvious type of movement. There's many different types, and I've loads of videos that go into this more in depth, but movement is not always going to be visible. So what you're seeing in front of you doesn't even necessarily mean that's what's happening. That's what's coming together. Overall, it really is just a case of the circumstances and other people's opinions not having relevance to your manifestation. If you decide, okay, this person has this opinion or said this, then that's fine. Maybe that's what they think in the moment, but I'm still getting what I want. My manifestation is here. It's mine. It's my reality. And I've decided this is what I want, and therefore this is what I'm going to get. So the circumstances and anything tying into that with other people, human interaction, other people's beliefs and judgments and opinions, whatever it is, yes, to them it may be objective and you can still manifest despite them holding those beliefs. Just remind yourself, it has no relevance to my end result. If I put the focus on what I want as if it's here right now, then that's what brings it in. I highlighted before about how there's this distinction between the conscious and subconscious mind, and the subconscious mind is completely different. It doesn't understand logic. It doesn't think logically or create its own assumptions or, analyzing situations. Whatever you feed it with repetition is what it accepts. So it just accepts things objectively. There is no judgment. So that's, again, what makes it so powerful and where the real shift comes in, not your conscious mind saying, oh, here's the bad circumstance, here's a reminder of things not working. Your subconscious will focus on the positive repetition if you feed it that. So as I said, guys, there is literally no limit to manifestation. So yes, I do like to apply some logical limits just in terms of people saying, can I grow blue hair by tomorrow morning? No, I don't believe that's possible. So yes, I guess you could say scientific, logical limitations, but for life goals, for things that you want, need, deserve, just the best possible life that you could ever live. Like, there is no limitation to what you can achieve or accomplish, what you can literally manifest. You don't even have to go out and physically accomplish it. But why would you think there is a list of things, or, going a bit more granular, things that to experience with an SP? Why would you think there's a list of things that you cannot have? So it's all about letting go of the current mental resistance, or preventing resistance from coming up by not analyzing the circumstances. Because if you focus on reasons why your manifestation can't or won't work, and what your 3D is maybe currently telling you, you'll always find reasons why it won't work. It will just feed into that belief that it is difficult, it does take a long time, it isn't working. That is what you will end up convincing your mind of. Movement cannot progress in a quick way, in a really streamlined, easier way, if you hold on to the negative circumstances, to anything negative in your 3D reality regarding your manifestation. So something relevant to that. If you can't let go of that, then the movement is going to be held back, even if it's just a tiny bit or it's a bit slower. And again, I always highlight that you can't ruin your manifestation, or that, circumstances do not impact it, but your judgments on it, if you hold on to that, if you keep reminding yourself of that, and you cannot push past with willpower, with repetition, with being, self-aware and really trying to be on top of your mental diet, then the movement will obviously slow down, because the repetition that you're putting in is unfortunately about negative memories, negative circumstances. The best thing to do is to, you can acknowledge it and then say, okay, I'm aware that I just, thought this. So you had the negative thought, and then you say, I'm aware of having that negative thought. Apply the mental diet, because in that moment you've picked up on the old story popping up in your mind. So you say, yep, this is the moment to flip it around, to stop it in its tracks and make sure it does not continue throughout my manifesting journey. Apply the mental diet, flip it back around, and try and create that positive shift in your mind, or out loud, or inner conversations, whatever method. Even if it's in a conversation with someone else, you can say, oh, actually, things are going to work out for me. I've decided that, worry that I just shared with you, with a friend or family member, I've actually decided I'm not worried about it. It'll work out for me, just something like that, where you are shifting the negative automated reaction into a positive, where it aligns with the new story. So in your mind, internally, the goal is to live from the end result. Visualize, have inner conversations, just think as much as you can, no matter what the circumstances show, what your belief is, as if your new reality is already here. And this will take back your power for you, because you will realize you're no longer seeking validation or waiting for that validation and reassurance from anything in your 3D reality. You feel good and think positively and feel more confident regardless of what's going on. You've decided and chosen that feeling and that state, and you're not going to wait for things to be shown to you to decide, oh, actually, I feel good about life. So even when you kind of shift out of this, state of analyzing your current circumstances and then catastrophizing, what's going on, or getting to a state of spiraling, obviously, you wouldn't consciously choose to do that, but it can come up and it can become a pattern. Your nervous system is going to respond to that as well. It's going to feel more safe and balanced and start to connect more with that new story, and not immediately jump into a state of needing safety, and it will exit out of that so-called threat mode. And when you have a more regulated nervous system, your neural pathways are all responding, everything internally is responding to that new story. It's going to make it so much easier, as I'm sure you can imagine, to accept the new story that you are building. So yes, it takes self-discipline and consistent practice a lot of the times, but once you do that, you are really building up the blocks for movement, for that end result. You're connecting to it so strongly that it is coming into your 3D reality. So it just takes focus on the version that you want, ignoring and shifting around your perception of the current circumstances. And yeah, I think I'm going to leave this video here. I hope you guys found that supportive, beneficial, interesting. If you did, please do thumbs up, subscribe, turn on that notification bell, and I'll see you next time.